So by now you've heard the term long-term care a bunch of times in this class, and hopefully you realize what that means. So this might be just a little bit of an overview for you. So long-term care kind of gives the meaning away right in the title. This is round-the-clock care for people who cannot provide that care for themselves, providing for their ADLs, the activities of daily living. So bathing, grooming, toileting, feeding, all the skills that you learn in a CNA class. Those are the things that we're going to be providing for in long-term care. Some people call these nursing homes. So when you think of nursing home, that is what you're thinking of, is a long-term care facility. So people are living longer than they ever have. We have baby boomers that are getting older now, so that is a huge population of people that we're going to need to be taking care of. And they're living longer with more chronic illnesses, meaning that they need a lot of support. So that is really where the future of healthcare, one of the big areas that the future of healthcare is headed, is taking care of our elderly population. Typically, when you think of nursing home, then that's what you think of, right, is the elderly. Though that's not always the case. There are definitely young residents inside of these long-term care facilities, and they can be there for a number of reasons. Could be some of these diseases and disorders that we talked about, like cerebral palsy, spina bifida. They can lead to chronic problems that make it difficult for that person to take care of themselves. Could even be something traumatic, like a traumatic brain injury. They might need to have care around the clock because of that. So we call people who are living in long-term care facilities residents, right? We don't call them patients because they're not ill. They are residents. That's truly their home. And one thing to always remember when you're in a facility like that is that you are in somebody's home, and you should treat it as their home. You should treat their room as their room, just like you would want somebody to treat your room like your room, right? That's why we don't go barging into rooms. We knock and we ask to enter. We touch people's things carefully. It's theirs. This one thing to remember when you're in these facilities is that they're not living in your workplace. You are working in their home. So treat it as such. For most people, when they move into these long-term care facilities, it's rather traumatic. This isn't like anybody's dream to live in a long-term care facility. It's not what anyone had planned for their future, but it's something that was required. So we want to make sure that we make that transition as smooth as possible, and be there for them. So families, they get a bad rap in this. You put your mom in a nursing home, you must not care about her. But it's really difficult to take care of somebody around the clock. If you think about, would you right now be able to drop everything in your life and take care of somebody else 24/7? Not work, not go anywhere else, not do anything, but just take care of them. It would be difficult. So we need to be there as a support to the resident, but also to the family. They're often feeling guilty. This isn't what they wanted either. So OBRA is important. Remember, OBRA protects the rights of individuals in long-term care facilities. It's some of those rights are like freedom of abuse. They have the right to be treated with dignity. They have the right to closet space. All of those things in your book. If you have forgotten what their rights are, you need to go back and look at them. And most of the skills that we do in this class, you have to protect that resident's right throughout. All that indirect care, part of that is respecting their rights. OBRA stands for Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. Don't ask me who came up with that, but that's what it stands for. So long-term care is around-the-clock care. It's 24/7 care. It's for people who can't provide that care for themselves for whatever reason. It is different than assisted living. Assisted living is assisted living, meaning that person can still provide for some of their own care themselves. They may just need help with some light housekeeping or meal preparation. Maybe they need help getting to the doctor's office. But as far as, getting dressed and bathing, they may not need a lot of help with that. And remember, the continuing care retirement communities, they have a lot of different levels of care on one campus. So they might have assisted living and long-term care. So once the person is no longer able to live in the assisted living, they may transition to long-term care. So there's a lot of factors to consider when somebody's deciding on where they need to go or where they need to place their family member. All of these facilities have oversight. So they have federal, state, and local oversight, and they can have inspections at any time, especially if something is reported. The state or the federal government has the right to come into that facility and do an audit. So you might be in clinical and they might show up. So if they do, you just do everything that you're supposed to be doing, and if there's something you don't know, then refer it back to your instructor. So payment for these can be very expensive. Some of these long-term care facilities, especially the nicer ones, can be up to $100,000 a year easily. So a lot of the people that are living in these facilities, they have to liquidate all their assets in order to pay for these facilities. But Medicare does help. Medicare is for those that were 65 years or older. They do help with some of the payment for that. Medicaid is for those that are low income. That might help. And then there's also some insurance that can help cover the cost of some of these long-term care facilities. But realize that the folks that are in these facilities, they are paying a lot of money to be there. So when you guys go to clinical, most likely you'll be in a long-term care facility. And make sure that you're following the residents' rights, that you're being respectful, and that you're treating it as their home like you should.